You're live.
Hello and welcome to a Blades and Blaster production of Godbound, um, a game of divine heroes. With us today, I have Tetnak and Bo, who will be playing two demigods. Their story, we'll find out who they are, where they come from, and what goals and aspirations they have. Um, before we begin, I would like to give you a brief about the world in which this is going to happen and why it is the way it is. Welcome. Mortals have questioned the existence of a higher power from the beginning of time. Brave adventurers have gone in search for the Creator. Theologians have researched ancient texts for clues. The clergy have spread the word of God. Each hoped their way would bear fruit. The pursuit was futile, the questions never answered, and their purpose never fulfilled. Till the first celestial shard was found, and with that everything changed. Some mortals turned demigods. Humanity found a vehicle to project its will on the less fortunate masses. Pain, suffering, and the want for anything was eradicated, and mankind entered a golden age. Mortals forgot about the true creator and focused on godhood. In their quest for godhood, mortals never bothered to look inwards, never looked and came to terms with the deep, dark place that resides in all of us. A hole, a void that, if not come to terms with, leads to self destruction. That is how the Golden Age came to an end. Mortals were not happy with their achievements. Their drive to continually achieve personal greatness at the cost of humanity eventually drove the world to ruin. This is the world we live in. Death, desolation, treachery, subjugation is everywhere. In such a time, will demigods rise again? Are celestial shards still to be found? And this time, will past mistakes not be repeated? The scene opens in the middle of a deep, dark, dense forest. Before us lies what looks like an ancient tomb, or that would be a first takeaway from the site. But as you look closer, it is definitely has some religious or sacred significance. There are well carved stones that have been over time eroded and have smoothened out, but they do have etchings on them. There is definitely and clearly an entrance going into the structure. All around it, the forest has grown roots, branches, leaves, and twine around it. And while it's deep and dark in there, there's still rays of sunlight hitting different aspects of that shrine. Before the shrine stand are two subjects. Who they are, where have they come from, and what are they doing here, we shall find out from them. Tet or Bo, you guys are free to introduce yourselves and role play as you see fit.
Yeah. So perhaps the first figure standing near the tomb is a tall man, or what looks to be a man. He's thickly muscled with broad shoulders and a bald head that sits upon a neck that's, well, it's not much of a neck. It's more of a tree trunk. Same thing with his legs. Legs looks like trunks of gnarled trees corded with muscle. And he kind of circumvents the entrance to this tomb, and his heavy boots slosh through the thin layer of water kind of surrounding it. And he places his thick hands over the stone, feeling it. He presses on certain areas, and you can tell with the might of his arms that the temple just almost trembles. Little bits and pieces of dust and stone flake off of it. And he turns to the other person here and says, well, here we are.
The other man is much more slight in build than the first. He has a immaculately groomed beard, thin along the chin, and a mustache that meets it. His long black hair is pulled into a braided tail that hangs to the middle of his back, with hoops of silver tied in various places that jingle and jangle as he walks at some times. He wears a flowing green cape, a brown shirt, sleeveless, with his wrists covered in a very dark golden greave on both sides, intricately woven with the images of mythological beasts like the Raskura and the Naga. He wears open-toed shoes, sandals really. He looks at this place before him with eyes of wonder and confusion, looking to the other man briefly and then around. What is this? What is this place? I don't remember. Do you remember, brother?
He looks to Shamad and says, Shamad, you were ever the smart one, quick-witted and quick-tongued. But no, and he kind of places his hands back on the stone. This stone does not speak to me. I am as clueless as you are about this place, although something in the air. He kind of looks up into the verdant foliage overhead with the sunlight sparkling and filtering down through. Takes a deep breath.
Shamad follows his brother's eyes, looking up into the sky, trying to see what he sees. He sees nothing. He looks around again, scratches his beard, and looks up once more, searching desperately, longingly for something. Something is wrong here. His mind cannot grasp it. He's missing something. He doesn't remember something. He remembers their childhood, their adolescence, even their young adulthood, but the here and now, the days before, they're missing. And this realization comes to Shamad slowly, as if a fog wiped away by the sun. But this fog lingers and nothing breaks its hold over his mind as he attempts to push it away, as he closes his eyes, scrunches his face, and attempts to recall what it is. What has he lost? But he cannot. His eyes flutter open again and look at the stone. But as the last few days or weeks or months, he's unsure. It is foreign, alien to him. And he stands dumbfounded without a word.
Genji looks back to his brothers. I sense this too, brother. It is as if things are right, but not yet so. Like this reality is a dream within a dream, slipping away the more I try to balls his fists, focused my mind on it.
As if sand through your fingers, brother. Even your grip cannot grasp what is lost in my mind. It feels empty, like a hole in the bottom of a pitcher. I see the water rush down like a cyclone and then gone. I cannot grab it, I cannot drink it, I cannot understand it. But it is slow and it is fleeting. And he blinks and looks around again, lost in thought.
Genji bends over and takes his large hand and puts it underneath the water where there's a lily pad or a lotus, and picks it up. The water runs through his fingers and sparkles in the sunlight. Your intellect is like this water. Over long ages it will carve away stone. Such as might needed as well, and he kind of grips the stone on the temple and squeezes it, and parts flake off. The two of us are here. Always we have been paired as far as I can remember. It is only together that we, and his voice trails off, and he looks into the tomb or the shrine or whatever it is. He says, "Dare we enter?"
Shimad turns his body by pivoting, looking around 360 degrees as his body turns, seeing nothing that he recognizes, nothing that he knows, nothing here besides the wild and this ancient place. When he comes back around to face the temple, he simply nods and says, "What else is there to do? Perhaps there are answers inside. Where we have been brought here or have come here, it cannot be by chance. Fate, Dharma, has led our path. That much I am certain. Of all things I am not certain of these days, for this hour is a mystery, except for that one thing. Come, let us see what is in store for us this day, besides a fogged mind and a clouded view."
Ganji follows Shamad. Before he does so, he bends over in the water and sees something glimmering beneath the surface and picks up a large stone. He looks at it and squeezes his hand, and it just shatters. And inside is like one of those geodes, there's like crystals in it. And his eyes go wide as he seems somewhat surprised by his strength. And he takes the rest of this rock, it probably still weighs 30 pounds, and just throws it into the forest. It's almost like a gunshot, just throws it, and he looks at his hand again. Indeed, Shamad, not all is as it seems.
Shimad stops and turns and looks at this display of might, confused at first, shocked a moment later. His brother had always been strong, very strong, the strongest man he knew, but this was unnatural as what he did not remember. He pushed it down inside, fought the terror that had brought and welled up into his throat of these unnatural, strange, mythological events, and with a step passed through into the shrine as best he could, looking through the darkness inside, hoping to find answers where he had none in this place.
Ganji follows Shamad ducking ever so slightly below the threshold, green vines covering him as he walks through and enters darkness.
Brothers sense that something's off around them, sense their own abilities starting to morph, knowing not why it happens or how long it will last, but their curiosity is piqued by this shrine, this temple, and they walk in, unknowingly what is going to happen next. The path leads you through many a dark tunnel, and at times you feel lost. But there's always this pull, something is pulling at your mind, and every time you think you're lost, there is a brief but low spark right ahead of you, always out of reach. And it pulls your mind again, and you turn towards it. It reorients you. You start walking, and you continue down the path till you come into this, what looks like a chamber. This chamber, there is a throne, and upon that throne there is light, an unnatural light shining upon it. You have walked for what seems a good 20 to 30 minutes. Wherever you are deep underground. When you come into the room and look around, there are no exits, there are no cracks. There's only one way in, one way out. But where does this light come from, and why does it shine upon that throne?
Ganji follows. Oh, go ahead.
Do you proceed in?
Oh, I'm behind my wiser brother, so.
Wiser brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shamad looks at the light and is drawn forward. There was no other way to go. There was no other answers elsewhere. To go towards the light like a moth to the flame. Shamad steps forward with a skip in his step, as is his nature, forgetting himself and the dilemma they were in for the moment. A mischievous smile breaks across his face, and he turns to his brother and says, "Do you remember the times we had sit on Father's chair when we were young, and he sat over the city-state of Bahokla?"
Oh, how could I forget? He says. You always being the prankster, me sometimes being the butt of the jokes. Although, it resulted in a few broken pieces of furniture ere the end. He gives a thunderous laugh and circumvents the throne and looks at all the runes on the walls. Brother, have you seen such things before?
Shamad tears his eyes away from the throne, gazing to the walls about, walking closer, looking up, looking down, looking left, looking right. He takes his hand and gently passes it over one of the runes close by, within reach. He looks at the dust on his fingers and wonders just how long this place has sat empty. Do I recognize anything? Can I roll for that? Or how does that work? I don't have any gift that would do that. I can say that for sure.
Oh yeah. So slight step back. let's rescind the word gift just yet.
Yep.
But when you enter this place, you see the carvings on the wall in a language none of you have ever come across. None of this makes sense. It does look like a throne. The light looks enchanting. And as you guys are taking all of this in, and these sights bring about memories of your past, Shama, do you notice that Ganji's eyes are fixated on that throne? Ganji, you in turn cannot seem to take your eyes off it and find yourself attracted to it. You start walking towards it. Shamad, before you can stop Ganji, the light catches your eye, the light falling on the throne, and keeps you transfixed. There's something about it, there's something in it that feels familiar but yet so strange. To Ganji, the stone that makes up that throne, it brings a sense of comfort in a place of discomfort. It brings a sense of strength, of belonging, of vitality and support that you have not felt in a long time. And before you both know it, Ganji is touching the arms of the throne. Shamad steps forward and looks into the light. And in a brief moment, there is, in this little space, a certain fracture in time and space. It's as if the heavens have opened up on you and you're looking at what just looks at as bright, eye-searing, eye-watering light. You look at each other, unsure if this is death. Before you know it, you are both elevated off the ground. Your arms instinctively stretch out. You are put on your backs, rising towards the light. For a brief moment there, your fingers touch each other. And then just like that, everything goes black. And then light again. So, mortals found it again. I see the strength of 1,000 fighters. I see the quickness of 1,000 birds. These two. Will they be willing to finish what will start once they leave this place? I wonder. You're unsure where this voice is coming from and you're unsure what it means. And at this point, you're almost feeling this, you feel this out of body experience, but something at the same time is crushing you as well. Your mind starts expanding, you start seeing different realities, and then it starts converging upon itself. And just like that, everything goes black. And you find yourself lying on your backs, in the deep mud outside the shrine. Ganji, you're the first one to get up.
Ganji.
Look around.
Ganji is laying in the mud. He feels the heaviness of his body in the mud and its coolness on his back, but he has a splitting headache, and first thing he does is place his right hand to his forehead and stop, slowly opening his eyes. Maybe he has a bit of vertigo, and then it clears. He stands in the mud and sees his brother to his right, who's still supine. Shamad, how fare you? Are you well? He bends over to him and jostles him slightly. Do I remember this? Like, do I remember everything, or?
You remember you were here out. You don't remember how you got here. You remember
The throne room and
the throne room. You remember the fact that before you entered, you actually threw what looked like a geode, and both of you were taken aback by the strength you seem to possess. You remember everything.
We remember everything that's happened in this session.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I
That's why
jostle him as just a very brief moment of levity. I go to jostle him, but then I kind of stop myself and just gently prod him instead.
Shamad's eyes flicker open. He's laying still, his back on the ground, his arms loose to his side, his legs straight below him. He peers up, looking for the light that he had seen only moments before, hours before. It wasn't clear. That light that he couldn't look away from, that drew him up, that spoke. It was all very strange. His head hurt, his stomach turned, and suddenly he could bear it no more. He sat up with a start, turned, and expelled his stomach onto the watery the watery lily pad next to him.
Ganji just kind of jumps back. Oh, I feared for the worst, brother. That light, that tomb or shrine or whatever it was. At first I feared some devilry or new wickedness, but no. In my heart I did not sense that. Nonetheless, I am perplexed and at a loss. I do not know what has happened. He looks around, extends a gauntleted hand towards Shamad to help him up.
Shamad clasps your forearm and allows you to pull him to his feet.
Yeah, it gets that the pull up, the slight nod of the head, like.
Yep. Once on his feet, Shamad takes his other hand and wipes the corners of his mouth, the wetness from the vomit. He moves his mouth, keeping his lips tight, sealed. This displeasure in the taste that is coming over him, and he turns and spits roughly, and then turns again back towards this temple and says, "This light we have seen, brother. I do not trust it. I do not know what this place is. But where is there to go? Shall we enter again? Do we enter again?" I feel strange. Almost as if we are living time over again.
Ganji nods slowly and plods through the muck and the lotus flowers and reaches his right arm underneath this stone bench, which I'm assuming is many hundreds of pounds. Tries to lift it up with his hand, just to see what would happen.
You lift it like it's a twig.
His eyes go wide and veins stand out on his forehead and his neck. And he sets the top slab back down on the bench and looks over to his brother. Shamad, after those pranks and those wrestling matches, it is true. More often than not, I came out on top, but it was always a fair match. But this is something else, something uncanny.
Shinmad has always been an agile man. He moves slowly over to Ganji and the bench that he is holding. Puts his fingertips on the edge and pushes himself on top and takes a seat. And looks around. He cannot help himself but to smile. His nature is one of levity. He looks at his brother and says, "Well, it is a good thing you are my brother. I will stay in your shadow then."
Ganji, you look around, you're still very perplexed at all this. And your eyes kind of get drawn to this particular spot on the pillars. You go a little closer to investigate, and you see that there is actually what looks like an handprint in that pillar. And you can't help it but recognize that it looks almost the right size as your.
Yeah, just to see if the size fits, he extends his left hand and puts it into the indentation.
And you feel that the indentation goes in a bit deeper. Not like you're clicking something, but the physical strength is slightly deforming that stone. You instinctively pull your hand back. And you think for a while, and it feels that as if your hand has been placed at that very spot over and over again. And you look around, and you see that there's a geode in that shallow pool. You instinctively pick it up, and you throw it. It travels a great distance that is improbable. You feel that you have been in this place over and over again, reliving a specific experience. And it dawns on you that you have gone into that temple and shrine many a time, and it has expelled you many a time. And in each time, you come out with a strength about you, strength you cannot explain. But now with this strength, there is a purpose. And the purpose is hunger. You hear your stomach growling and you realize that I have not had food in many a days. And just when you're coming to terms with that, something in your mind clicks. It's like as if a natural instinct is telling you how to leave this place, the direction to follow, and get back on a road that will take you somewhere where you can get food and some shelter and rest. What do you do?
He stands there at the base of the stone, still looking perplexed and somewhat dazed, and trying to wrap his head around this situation, this recurrent cycle, this loop that he feels that he's caught in. And he looks over to Shamad and says, "Brother Shamad, when is the last time that you remember taking nourishment? For I do not remember the last time I dined, and yet I have this indomitable strength, so it seems, out of nowhere."
Shmad looks from his seat on the bench to his brother. He cannot remember a time that he last had eaten. He remembers hunting with his bow, but he was much younger. It was with his father and Ganji and his father's men. Something about that time he does not recall, something that bothers him. He pushes that aside for the moment and simply says, "I don't know. I only remember sitting here. The near past is gone from my mind. But I do hunger. Even I cannot make a joke of that." And he leans forward and pushes his feet to the ground and stands up. "I do not reckon there is food in there." He instinctively reaches back to grab an arrow from his quiver, which is now not there. His bow is not there. He wonders. It was unlike him not to bring that anywhere. He pushes that aside too. "What shall we find to eat?"
He
Where
looks
are
around. Well, I agree with you, brother. There is no food to be had in there. I feel like I've been there many times, countless times, and now here I am. And he flexes his arms and his veins pop out. But tell me this, brother, do you not feel changed? Do not tell me that I am the only one that has been changed in this way. Though I do not complain about it. I feel rather vital. But it seems odd that I am alone in this gift, and yet here with you, who to my naked eye appeared the brother that I know as a boy on father's lap, and one that would never forget his quiver, mind you.
Shamad,
Mm-hmm.
while you're listening there, you do know your brother. You being you always feel your brother sometimes prattles on, but you always, what do you say?
Endure it.
Indulgent. Yeah,
Mhm.
adore
Yeah,
it and
indulgent.
him.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that action of reaching for your quiver and then realizing your bow is not there, in that very instant, there's this dull ache that sets about your body. The ache starts as just a single pulse and it goes a little stronger, stronger, stronger. Soon you're just doubled over, back on to the ground in that slime. And your mind is now just focused on one thing. Just the only thing you can think of is a bow, a specific bow. A bow that you've had since your adolescent days, a bow given to you by someone very special in your life. And you feel it calling to you. You feel it, that the bow in turn is trying to grab your attention, grab your mind. Ganji, you see that Shamad is in terrible pain. And you see him actually crawling towards this spot. And Shamad, when you get there, you realize that there's something sticking out in something that's covered in the muck and the dead leaves and the greenery around you.
Shamad, on all fours, slowly crawling, ignoring anything his brother says, ignoring the pain. There's one purpose for him now. To move forward to that spot, to find what secret gifts were there. He could think of nothing else. His hand reached out, skimming the top of the water, the muck, the grime, the moss, the algae. He pushed it aside, reaching feverishly, desperately, for something he knew was there but did not know was there. It was as if luck had brought it there to that day, or brought him there to that day. His fingers wrapped around what he could feel, and with a yank, he tore this artifact, this hidden thing, into view.
And you see your bow covered in muck and grime. You're not sure it's your bow, but you feel it's your bow. You hastily rub off all the dirt around it and instinctively reach for a specific place on the bow, and you feel a very familiar carving. You look down and memories flash in, memories of your innocence, memories of that person who gave this to you. Instinctively, you reach out to your quiver. Before you know it, there's an arrow in your hand. You knock the arrow, and without looking, you shoot it. Twang! You hear it hit the bark of a tree, and you can hear it vibrate in place. Ganji, you look up. You see that Shamad actually has killed what looks like a poisonous snake that was crawling down the tree towards you.
Ganji's gaze goes over his left shoulder and traces down a vine and sees the dark serpentine shape of a snake that's been slain by this arrow. He looks to Shamad, says, "Indeed, it seems you have not emerged from this temple without us as well. For that I'm grateful, and for that I'm not going to be the victim of this serpent." And he takes a few steps away from it.
Shamad gives the bow a look, remembering in his distant past, as he could not do in his near past, thinking of his mother's gift to him, this bow, long, curved, with carvings innate of elephants and lions and other mythological beasts. He sighs, not quite understanding where it had gone and how it had come back. But he knew that he would always find things, he would always shoot straight, and that luck was on his side. It had always been that way, but now something felt strange. As if a coin were high in the canopy of trees, somehow, some way, carried by a bird from a distant city, it would fall into his purse. He didn't know why he felt this way. He steps past his brother to the snake, grabbing it around what would be considered its neck, and turning. Well then, it looks like we have food.
Ganji follows after him. At least a little food. We need more. Gives a hearty laugh.
And Shimad cocks his head towards his older brother and says, "Did this temple give you perhaps a lesser appetite, I hope? Else I'll die in these foreign place, regardless of whatever else has been granted to me. I cannot be that lucky if you eat the entire place, can I?"
He says, I don't know. Let us see. Shoot. And he points his finger up in the air and just randomly picks a direction that way. Maybe you'll hit a tiger.
Shimad drops the snake, pulls the arrow, shoots randomly in that direction. His arrow passing through vines, trees, leaves, branches, never hitting a one. Good as ever.
You let go of that arrow and you feel a connection to it somehow. You are not sure where it has gone, what it has hit. You do know every fiber of your being that you have hit something. You both start to walk in that direction, and eventually, after a good 15-20 minutes, you find a dead wild boar. The arrow, a perfect shot, right in the central nervous system of the boar. A one shot, one kill situation.
Perhaps I'm not very lucky after all. It was not a tiger. He smiles a mischievous grin to his brother. Perhaps this, though, I'll have a flank at the very least, and won't die of hunger before you're done.
Ganji claps Shimad on the shoulder. Well done, brother. Do not fret about this meal. For if you remember his mother's boar, well, I'd rather have this than tiger any day. And he sets about to field dress the beast. And he instinctively reaches down to his belt where his hunting knife would usually be. And I think, do I have endless steel? Steel without end? Do we have these gifts yet?
Yes. 1 minute. Yes.
No. Yeah, the one that I was. So if you look at
It just makes sure steel without end just makes your attack's stronger.
Yeah, if you have the crap, where's the word? basically makes you can like summon any weapon at any time.
Oh, hold on. If that's the case, that's awesome. Give me a minute. All your melee weapons.
I don't remember that one.
Smite. It's under might, I think. Or sword. Yep.
Oh, sword. Yes, you have.
Yep. So
sword.
heroes and sword word treat their weapon as unarmed attacks as magical, cannot be disarmed, and can summon any melee weapon they've ever used immediately to hand as an instant action.
Yes. So how does that look?
So I reached down into my belt to get this knife and realize it's not there. But then I look into my left hand and suddenly there's a bright gleaming hunting knife that glows with a faint blue light. And he turns to his brother. Shamad, it appears I've been bequeathed with my own bit of luck. Although I don't think I can bring down a tiger at 200 yards. Or a boar. And he sets about to field dress the animal and make dinner.
Shmud smiles and finds, oddly, with luck, almost a canopy of vines intermingled together, tightened, comfortable, hanging as a hammock. He sits in them, props himself up, throws his feet up and his arms behind the back of his head, watching his brother labor in front of him. Ah, some things don't change much. As he watches his brother work, as he rests with a smile on his face, as the hammock of vines slowly swings to and fro.
So, at this point, Zypher is out of character, but also kind of a little bit in character. I'm getting the sensation, I think this is an awesome system, that we are coming to this thing, we feel like perfect beings. We feel like we can do no wrong. There's, I think what Ganji would do, it would be field dress this boar, and he would go about this immediate area, and he could carve out of stone a fire pit. He could, chop down trees, break them with his bare hands, stoke up a raging inferno, and to spit this boar on and cook it up for his brother. And
do
he would
exactly
be
that.
Incredibly joyful as he does it, like ecstatic almost. And he would look to Shamad and almost have a guilty look on his face. And as they eat this boar, he would say, "Brother, I do not know. Have we passed away? Have we died and gone to the blessed circle? This seems too good to be true."
Shamad opens his eyes from his rest, listening to the insects deep and within the jungle and the wind playing through the trees. I do not know. If I had died, I would assume there would be more maidens here. If we have died, we are in your dreams of the afterlife, and, well, I'm sorry, but that is quite boring to me, my brother. He smiles.
He laughs, and he has a big haunch of the boar, and he's tearing into it. He says, "I had an inkling you would say such a thing, brother. Give me one moment of meditation." He laughs and smiles and shuts his eyes and concentrates really hard. and opens them up again. I am sorry. It did appear that an axe to fell trees fell into my hands when I concentrated. A hunting knife was summoned from the ether when I needed it. But alas, a buxom beer wench, well, it seems they're rather hard to come across.
Perhaps it is because they're unlucky, and all women are. And he smiles for a moment as he normally would, but something catches in his mind. Something he can't quite reach. Something that there's truth to those words somehow, somewhere. Instead of smiling, he frowns, which is unusual for the man. He scratches his beard as he considers and looks troubled for a moment. I don't know what this is, brother. I do not understand it. I feel as if though... I don't know. Even father could not explain. Even mother. Even the Brahmin of our clan, of our family. And he looks towards the heavens and the stars that are shining through the canopy of trees above. Something out there. Do you remember the chair? It's the light that spoke to us, and here we are, changed. Perhaps we are dreaming, but a dream is not shared by two. It is a solitary purpose. A path. A zigzag line. From here to there. Up and down to nowhere. In a circle until you awaken. I feel that this is... nothing. Dots. Everywhere. I go here, I go there. But it never ends. It stretches out like the stars above us. It is as if our feet were upside down and we were walking in the heavens. What do you feel?
He laughs, and Ganji takes another bite of his succulent boar, throws the bone back into the fire, and it hisses and crackles with a pop. Shamad, Shamad. It's rare that a shadow falls upon you. Your mirth normally knows no bounds. Let us not ponder overmuch or gaze at the stars too long, or think of this situation we found ourselves in. Though always you're a master of riddles, and you've threatened to pull me down into your gloomy pit this time. I suppose these gifts, they do not come without a cost and a reason. Though I would like to travel these woods, hunt and fish, build fires, and impose my will upon this place, I suppose that you're right. There has to be some further progress. I was never one to listen to the Brahmin of our clan, my mind always straying to the field.
I only ignored what I wished to ignore. The talk of piety and virtue, of course. And he outstretches his hand toward the fire, and wind takes the flames and seems to push it around his hand, unburnt. He is unburnt as he passes it through, the flames dodging aside as if he could not even touch them if he tried. He recoils and looks down at his palm, flexing his fingers. And then looks back to his brother again. These woods won't satisfy us, brother. Whatever is here, we'll need to go home eventually. But I have a bad feeling of what awaits us. I don't remember the last days as you do not, but something is like a shadow over my brow. Something as if it whispers in my ear from behind me. Go back, but fear. Go forward. You cannot. To go back is to go forward. And he shrugs.
You guys proceed to continue spending the night in each other's company, pondering the events that have happened so far, pondering the powers, the gifts that you have received, what it means, what you can do with it. And you guys spend the evening and the night staring deeply into that fire, questioning the meaning of life. Before long, you find yourself asleep. The fire is burning to its embers. The forest is quiet all around you. The next day, you wake up and you find yourself in that clearing. The embers undisturbed, the space around you undisturbed, as if other beings in this forest sensed the power and proceeded to stay away. Ganji, a part of you starts feeling a strong pull towards the north. You feel that that is the way that you must proceed to leave this forest and get back on a path that would take you to some sort of civilization.
Ganji wakes up and looks at the fire that's died down and is cold. No more embers. He stretches into the pale morning light, looks down at his brother Shamad. Wake up, brother. This has not been a long night, and there have been no beer wenches. My mind and heart tell me we must travel north.
Shamad's eyes open. He's always been late to rise, late to sleep. But it is not so today. On his hammock of vines, he rolls, haphazardly almost off. But then a wind blows. Leaves fall and catch him as he lays onto the ground harshly. It is almost as if he could not fall hard, he could not hurt himself. It is something he expected. He didn't know what to understand about it all, but it was all making some sense. Gathering himself to his knees, he stood, nodding to his brother. To the north, then, you say?
Indeed. To the north. Perhaps we will rejoin our clan. Think, Shamad. Think of the accolades. Think of the dames that will adorn you, one for each arm and one somewhere else. Soon we will join the circle of heroes and sit side by side by Held Lava and his kin.
Tell me, brother, what is different than a woman on one arm and another place than when I was, what do you say, normal? I think you have forgotten your memories of all my escapades.
If I trust to your luck, now, well, you may find your number of companions tripled, quadrupled, or more. And he laughs.
And that is trouble. I would need luck to keep from having so many women. I believe that is the lucky thing.
Well, perhaps you can spare one or two for me.
Ah, brother, I do not know. You did not grow any more handsome during this trip. Just stronger.
And they're traipsing through the woods, and he says, well, like they say, brother, it takes all types. Not every woman is after a pretty face. I dare say there are some women that look for a man that can do this. He finds the biggest tree he could find, just like rips it out of the ground, and throws it.
And Ganji, when you rip that tree off the ground and you throw it, you cannot help but feel like as if you've tapped into some other sense. A feeling of sadness around you. And you look about, you take a 360-degree turn and you look up. I mean, Shamar doesn't look unhappy. He seems to have a lot on his mind, but he's not unhappy. And just when you think that, okay, it is maybe something new, some new power that you might have achieved, you realize, no, it's not that the sadness is coming from within you. The sadness is coming from all around you. And you realize that the forest itself is feeling sad. Almost instinctively to your action that you just took. And in that brief moment, when you feel that sadness, it dawns upon you that while you have powers, and those powers are fantastical, like all powers, they will have repercussions.
So as he tears down this tree as a display of his might, almost as a child would, going through the woods and cutting down branches just haphazardly because he's exploring his own strength. Deep furrow can be seen spreading across the thick brow of Ganji, and a bead of sweat drips down over his bald head. He sits the tree down. Did you feel anything just now, brother?
Huh. I felt the tremble of the ground when you ripped the roots from the soil. I don't know any women that want trees, brother. What is it? You look troubled.
Not quite talking about the women anymore. And he says, as I felled this tree, it was as if the forest reacted with sadness. It did not react with sadness when we cooked our dinner or when I built a hearth. But when I displayed my power, just to display my power, well, it is as if the earth was weeping. I did not like the feeling. Not a bit. He sits the big tree down onto the ground. If I would ask our ancestors to guide our actions further. You have a point, Shamad. We were not gifted these gifts for no reason at all. I fear that I have been wanton. There may be much to learn, besides felling trees and rending stone with my bare hands. He tries to just take a moment to be silent.
Yeah. Shamad goes over to the fallen tree and takes his hand and draws it across the outside, the bark, feeling the notches, the knobs, the slick spots, the dry spots. Perhaps, brother. Let us not do things in vain, without consequence, without thought. Let us make our mistakes into boons for others. Certainly there are the poor that could use firewood. And certainly you could carry such firewood to our home and give it to those in need.
Absolutely, brother. A most excellent point and idea. And he raises his right arm, and suddenly into it is a woodsman's axe. And he starts to move about with unnatural speed, hewing this tree into timbers.
As Ganji is splitting this tree, Shamad steps back and kneels in a small dirt patch nearby. He takes his fingers, outstretches his middle finger and his pointer finger, places them into the dirt. He makes a circle in front of him, or at least a half circle, the two lines parallel. He bows his head to the tops of his hands, his palms touching the ground. He gives a prayer to his ancestors, the karmic wheel, those that have passed before and been reborn. To this tree I pray, let your next days come as a higher form. Rise up as is deserved. Take solace knowing that your passing shall give warmth to another, a dying soul, a crying babe, a pregnant woman, an old man, the sick, the poor. Let it be known that your sacrifice is not in vain. Let your spirits rise, this forest around us, this ever-being looking down upon us, us interloping into your domain. Let us give you thanks. Let us give you our regrets in our actions. No, they shall not be repeated. And know that one day this tree will rise up like a phoenix again through the karmic wheel that turns for all of us. And its sacrifice will raise it up from a simple plant to something greater. Only the gods can decide what. And he bows his head again, pressing his forehead into the dirt, while Ganji continues his work.
Yes, as Shamad whispers his prayer, he can hear the axe rise and fall of Ganji. Chop, 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 chop. This continues over and over, but it's just inhumanly fast. And almost by the time Shamad is done with his prayer, he turns around, and Ganji looks amazed almost that he has slit all this wood and corded it with vines. Is kind of dragging it behind him. And he takes a deep breath and tries to sense the environment now and sees if the forest is any more pleased with their actions.
And as both of you finish your individual actions, the moment Shamad finishes his prayer, Ganji, you finish chopping up the wood, creating small piles of it and wrapping up vine. You sense that the demeanor of the forest has changed. You also sense that you feel it's only both of you who are sensing it. You feel with your powers you have a deeper connection with nature, with the elements. Things that you've never sensed before in your life previous to this event. You feel as if you're one with everything around you. You feel that prayers and your actions have brought about a balance for you. And the forest is in a way, own way, rejoicing. Ganji, you're also extremely surprised, not only with the strength and the might that you have, but you take a step back and look at the way you have chopped the wood, look at the way you have put it all together, and you feel that you are doing it not just instinctively anymore. You're doing it, one would say, almost like a gift. You feel that you understand every aspect when it comes to journeying a life, when it comes to traveling far and wide. You now feel that what draws you continually northward is not just a way out of this forest, but truly a way to get back to civilization, and possibly a way to get back home, wherever it may be.
Are you finished with your... Go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yep. And he's looking over Shamad's shoulder. And he says, I sense that the sorrow of this forest has lifted. The shadow has grown dim, and again the day is glad. I suppose this prayer you uttered was not just to ask forgiveness for your sins with the fairer sex.
Oh, I have no sins when it's in regards to the fairer sex, brother. He smiles. Standing up, he says, no, in truth, I did listen to the Brahmin a time or two. When one passes on, it helps if one guides that spirit along the wheel. He outstretches a hand and a butterfly flutters onto his palm. Ha, see? A friend. And he raises his hand and it flutters off. Now, will you lead us from this place? My days as a priest are short.
And he smiles. Of course I will, brother. Just follow me. For suddenly my heart tells me that I do know the way, and that our journey will be swift. Perhaps swifter than we could ever imagine. He smiles and...
I'll try to have my feet keep up then.
And and he says, just to top it off, once we get back, this will be thirsty work. We should go to the tavern. I want to see if that trick works with coin. This is luck, or whatever.
And he kind of chuckles. Remember, brother? Remember the lessons we've learned here?
With that, both of you start heading out of the forest. Ganji, you're able to lift almost all of the tree you had chopped up. Shamad helps a bit in his own.
Would I be able to invoke my word of journeying and swift progress? If we're going to be able to rest at the end of it, or
Yes, why not? Indeed.
I can myself and anybody I travel with may treat travel as if it was restful and nourishing to them as sound sleep.
There you go. Yep. So I'm going to put So on your sheet when you open it, where it says swift progress, when you click on that magnifying glass, there's actually a button that allows you to post it. And since you're committing effort, I will set it to 1. And you will notice that on your token, when you click on it, there's the red, green, and blue circle. The red is the number of hit points. The green is the number of free effort you have. And the blue is your armor. Not armor, sorry, your AC.
Got it. So this is the best trip we've ever had. We don't get tired. We laugh and joke the whole time. We don't get hungry.
And along the way, you meet many a traveler. Not too large, not huge groups, just small travelers. You find some company among men and women, down to earth people just trying to live out their simple lives. You're able to distribute the firewood that you collected in the forest. Folks are taken aback by your generosity. You get the sense. I mean, those some of it is still missing, and it's kind of like hazy. You do get a sense that generosity is something that is not common in this world anymore. You can't put a finger on it as to why. In your conversations with these travelers, they tell you that there is not too far away. There is the city, not a city, I would say a village town by the name of Gong Fang. And if you want to kind of really get back to civilization, that would be the nearest place to go to. They tell you that be careful in Gong Fang. There are some strange things that occur there. Not everything seems the way it's supposed to. But if you're just passing through, you shouldn't have any problems. And they tell you about a particular tea stall that you can go to, run by a lady called Chin. The best dumplings and the best hot tea that you can find anywhere within 200 miles from around this place. You guys set about, and pretty soon you start seeing structures like these along the way, clearly marking the road to Gong Fang. And it has not been more than 2 or 3 days since you have left forest. Are you continuing to use that swift progress gift?
I think if we've kind of hit easier terrain and we're more in civilization, I think I can drop down to my normal. I think I have normal traveling, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
So just kind of restful and nourishing to them as a sound sleep. So we don't get tired, but it's just normal speed.
Yep. And in addition to not being tired, being around you, Shamad, you notice that you're almost not taking any missteps. Like any place you think your foot would have caught a rock or a root, you see it in time, you step over it as if you saw it as well, and you're not quite sure whether you really saw it or your attention was brought to it, but it happens ever so smoothly. um, uh, and you guys continue your progress towards Gong. It's about the third, I would say the fourth day since you have left forest. And by now you have distributed all your firewood that you can get. um, Ganji, you get this strange sense as a traveler that something is tracking you. Something is hunting you.
Brother, he says one day, as no doubt butterflies are circling around Shamad. And they're clip-clopping up here and feeling very light and happy, probably happiest they've ever felt. And they've made good time. What normally would have taken them a couple weeks, they've done in 4 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, there is something, well, a tickle or an itch in the back of my mind. I get the sense that we're being followed. And we travel swiftly, which means what hounds us travels just as swiftly. I am not one to bring down the mood, but is it possible, brother, that others have these gifts as we do?
Shamad turns and looks over his shoulder as his brother speaks of being followed and hunted. Seeing nothing, he turns back and shrugs. Nothing would be a surprise, brother. If 2 men can be imbued these gifts, why not another 2 men or more?
I suppose we should continue. And he says,
And you continue on. These arches now get more and more frequent. The distance between each arch is kind of reducing. You get the sense that in some way it's telling you that you're getting close to your destination. It's getting late afternoon. The sun's reaching that point where there is like the light hitting you directly in your face. You have maybe another couple of more hours of sunshine before it becomes sunset, and while the sun is in your eyes, you still it doesn't bother you. It's a very strange feeling. These past 4 days, it's usual annoyances are no dull aches and pains do not exist anymore. You feel in the prime of your life, and as you're walking, both of you in the distance hear a strange hissing but growling noise.
step. Suddenly a spear appears in his right hand, but he doesn't move. He looks to his brother. Did you hear that?
But of course. Shall we see what is in front of us? And before you know it, Shamad has his long bow off his back with a arrow in his opposite hand between his 2 fingers.
Ganji slowly moves forward and gests to his brother. It is an odd thing. My knees do not hurt, my feet do not hurt, It seems these past few days I have nothing to fear, although, well, these reflexes die hard. It's like they linger somehow to protect us.
Hmm. All I know is I've had no rocks in my shoe if my toes have not caught on any step. Agile, yes, certainly. One could call me that, but something else. I don't know. It seems like whatever I need is there. Whatever I don't need, I avoid it, or it is not there at all. Oh.
Okay. Ganji explores the path before him. What does he see? Oh. So, Tiger, you missed with your bow.
I won't miss twice.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know I was muted. So both of you, as you're walking and talking, you're alert to the sound, and the hissing and the roar they kind of intertwined. It's as if almost it's the same being.
Mm-hmm.
You stop instinctively. Something tells you to stop right here. Any closer, you don't know what, you have some sort of an advantage from here, but any closer things could change. After a while, you feel that you are not attacking anything. You are being respectful of whatever this creature's space is. But this creature now seems to be coming towards you. And Ganji, whatever you were sensing, whatever you think was hunting you, is now, it's upon you. And in front of your eyes, you see what looks like a tiger and a lizard, two bodies merged into. It has the tail of a lizard standing on its hind 2 feet. Its upper torso is extremely muscular and large claws. It's bearing its fangs and is slowly stalking towards you.
Do you believe it was listen to reason, brother? I could sing it a poem, recite it a tale.
By the sound of that, I have my doubts. But if you want to sing a 2-line, 2 stanzas of your most vulgar song, that will give me time to load my sling.
There was once a lizard who came our way. His tail was scaly, by the way. It was ugly and smelly? I forgot how it goes. And he just draws back on the string of his bow and aims towards it if it gets any closer. Oh,
Okay.
It actually goes like this. Don't come any closer or I'll shoot you. And he smiles.
Excellent. Awesome. Just give me a moment.
Yeah.
As he does that, Ganji, he has that spear in one hand, but reaches down for, like he used to carry a hunting sling. And he figures it'll just appear, but it doesn't. So it's the first time it's just nothing's happened his way. So gets a little frustrated look on his face as Shamad gets ready to loose his arrow. Oh, it's the Red Room song.
And with that, you guys take your positions. Both of you see that words have no effect on the what you can only call a tizard, and even Shamad's lovely poem doesn't seem to phase it. In this system, player characters attack first. How do you like to proceed?
Shamad has his ready to go, so he can go first.
Let's see. Let me just check one thing or two.
Sure.
Feathered Tempest. Oh, I know what I want to do. So Shamad thinks that he actually takes aim with his bow, but shoots over the head of this creature. The arrow suddenly arcs down towards an overcropping that is above the creature. And I want to use oh crap, hold on. Shouldn't have closed my sheet. The world against you.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm using
Oh,
luck
what's
as an
that do?
attack. It's a luck attack. It's
That's
basically
awesome.
yeah.
So you're going to commit one effort to that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Nice. So let me set that to one effort. Okay. So used to attack, the damage is 1d10. Okay. So wait, are you making it attack itself, or is your
No. So I was just the arrow. Well, I wanted to narrate kind of what it looked like based on the damage, right? So, how do you want me to do that? Do you want me to roll the damage, or
yes,
does it matter?
go ahead
Okay.
and roll the damage.
Okay.
So in this case, it'll actually be a 1d10 damage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So roll a 1d10.
I did.
8. Okay. You are not doing straight damage, so an 8 means an actual damage of 2.
Okay.
1 minute. Oh,
Yep.
sorry. You still have to roll your attack. The damage will be 1d10. So 8's your damage, so that's fine. But go ahead and roll your longbow attack anyway to see if
Okay.
it hits.
Okay. Use luck as a weapon with a range of 1 inflicting center wound probably. Okay. Let's see how to do this here.
So if you scroll down and you click on the roll button, where it
What's the
says
target's AC?
roll, the target's AC is 4.
Ah.
1 minute, dude. I think we're reading it incorrectly. So it says the hero becomes able to use luck as a weapon with a range of 100 feet, inflicting sudden and wildly improbable calamities on foes with normal attack rolls. When used to attack, damage is 1d10 and treated as so this is. Oh, I see. Okay, no, sorry, my bad. I read it a little wrong. Yes, its attacks are normal. Okay, perfect. So the way I read it is that you don't actually attack, but you kind of curse it with bad luck. So when it tries to attack you, it ends up hurting itself for that 8 which you rolled.
Well, I
is the
mean,
way.
yeah, more or less, or something bizarre happens that it looks like it's just really bad luck. It didn't necessarily hurt itself. Like the way I was going to describe it, or I can describe it if that's the way we're going to go with it.
Oh, yeah, you can describe it, but what I'm saying is, to me,
like even a miss results in something bad happening.
Well, the way I read it, there's no attack. It's just that it takes 1d10 damage from bad luck, whatever that bad luck is.
Oh.
I see. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. So
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I did it as, like if you're fighting someone and you kind of like curse them with bad luck, so when they try to attack you, they end up almost hurting themselves in the process as well. Like if they try to swing their axe at you, suddenly they feel that the axe is not just stopping at hitting you, it's coming back and it's just now coming at them and they end up hurting themselves. That's how I did it, but this is fine as well.
Yeah, I think it could be either way. I think
Yeah.
it's kind of narrative. Yeah, so he shoots this arrow over this creature's head, and the arrow, it looks like it misses, but actually it hits this outcropping of rocks over here above this thing, and the rocks slowly begin slipping down, rolling, tumbling, and one comes and just slams in between the shoulder blades of this creature, cracking its flesh in some way that injures it.
Yep. So when you shoot that arrow and you cause that landslide of rocks to happen, you guys notice that this animal, which seems sure-footed, suddenly loses balance, and its legs are kind of taken from underneath it, and it hits its head extremely hard on a jagged piece of rock. There is a massive gash now bleeding profusely on this animal, and you can see that it is pretty badly hurt. It shakes itself off and starts getting up. Ganji, what are you going to do?
Am I within distance that I can close distance on it?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So narratively, I bound up the trail, like going from stone to stone, and I get to this thing and almost step on its tail, so it tries not to get up. And the giant boulder, I just pick up and I hold it over my head, and I say, "When my brother says to stay down, you stay down." Takes up this boulder and just tries to smash it with it. You can just treat it as a
basically you're
like, yeah.
I think it'll be just because
your unarmed attack does like 1d10 plus 2 anyway, or something like that, right?
Yeah, it treats everything as that.
It's your sword, whatever that sword gift is.
Wait, I think you have two. What you have a might also.
Strength score 19 plus 4.
Okay, so that's that. Then your sword. I mean, technically you have steel without end, so you're using a rock while you can use a sword.
Well, I think steel without end lets you use an arm.
So all your unarmed attacks. So go ahead and just make an unarmed attack of 1d10 plus 1.
All right. So what I do though is I do attack. Okay, attacks.
Yep.
Just do.
No, not
fray dice.
Not the fray dice. If you scroll the page all the way down where it says weapons, and you see the word unarmed, there's a roll button there. So just hit that.
Target's AC?
Target's AC is 4.
No
modifiers.
Oh.
Same thing I rolled.
So as you bring that rock down, this lizard instinctively jumps out of the way, seeing that there is now an entity close by, and the rock kind of goes smashing on the ground, having no effect on the lizard. The lizard in its actually one. Your total armor is 6, not 7. 6. So in turn kind of whips around and basically with both its claws kind of does a cross swipe across your chest, or it attempts to. AC is 6, 0. It's a hit. In this case, it's a normal damage of 1 because it's not a straight damage attack. So you take 1 point of damage from its claws, and it in turn attacks you with its tail. Which is a miss. So how does that look?
So it drops. It's the red box, right?
Yeah, red box from 11 to 10.
Got it. All right. So I tried to slam the rock down, and it rolls out of the way. But instead, the Tizzard reaches up with its claws and scratches me across the chest. Some blood kind of can be seen there on my tunic. I jump back. The tail whips through the air, barely missing my head. And then suddenly in my right hand is like a giant axe, just like shows up.
Nice. So the round comes back to you. Who would like to act
go for
first?
it, Ganji. I think that's more. The axe appears in your hand, and you.
I will try to bring it down upon his head.
Okay. So before we do that, I would like to kind of add some stuff here because it's combat. In combat, you have actions, right? So attack like this is an action. You can also use your gifts if any of them apply here. Gifts have certain annotations to them, like C, which is always constant. I is instant. So an instant gift can be applied at any time. For example, Ganji, in your case, you have something called 9 iron walls. So if you want to commit an effort for a scene, you have an invincible defense against all physical attacks and so on and so forth, right? So I means instant.
Until next rounds.
Until next round, yeah, but it's instant. It can happen anytime in a combat. OT, which is on turn, should happen when it's your turn. But when it's your turn, you can take any number of OT gifts. You can activate any number of OT gifts as long as you have enough effort to, spare. And then finally,
question real quick. So effort. Do we? So say for instance, I used the world against you last turn, and I spent 1 effort to do that. That means I'd be at 1 effort.
Yes.
Does that effort get replenished every turn, or is it?
No. So in this one, when you said the world against you, it is commit effort, and the effort remains committed till you pull it back.
Okay.
And when you pull it back, 1 minute. Yes, and when you pull it back, it actually goes back into the pool.
Okay.
Yeah. However, there are certain things which will be there for the entire day, and you cannot pull them back.
Yeah, like some things are for the day, and for the scene, it would after the scene you could pull it. It comes back.
Correct. Now, no. So that's sort of be careful. Whatever says for the scene is for the duration of the scene, right? Which means that if you used it for that scene, like see this entire battle is a scene, you cannot pull it back till the battle is done.
Right. That's what I meant.
Right. So you have to be careful in case you have a low amount of effort remaining, how you use them. Okay.
But the other cool thing though is with instant, it says, as with all instants, this can be used even after an assailant has rolled a successful hit.
Yes.
So I could use that 9 iron walls just like as a last ditch thing.
Yes, you can use it like almost like a reflexive thing that you can do. Also, pulling back effort is also instantaneous, so it doesn't require for it to be at the top of your action or the top of the round. So what I mean by that is, say, Shamad, you used your action to do that, the world against you. And say there was an additional attacker standing right next to this lizard, and he's going about to attack you, right?
Use
And say
Feathered
you
Tempest or something.
if you want to use a defensive spell, you can remove that world against you, get it back, and then use this to kind of stop it. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So Ganji, you're up, and you're going to swing your axe.
Yep.
Okay, go for it.
I'm also use unarmed, right then?
Yeah, I think unarmed. We should just make it as your melee. Just rename it to melee. That way, any melee weapon you use, we'll just use that.
Okay. It's 4, you said?
AC is 4. Yes.
All right. Let's hope and pray here. There you go.
Bam.
Nice. Normal damage of 4.
As high as you can get.
How does this look as you take this animal out?
So, as I leap back and just the tail barely misses my head, the great axe kind of sprouts in my hand, and I bring it down upon the lizard's head, kind of cleaving it in two. And it falls to the ground on top of that very boulder I just used to try to smash it with, and does not move any further. I kind of heave and there's some blood on my chest from where I was wounded. What was that thing?
Shemad looks at it and shrugs. Something strange. And he just kind of walks over to it and kneels kneels at its side, and parts cat, parts lizard, perhaps? Dead, certainly.
I prefer it that way. And he looks down at his chest. Well, this just puts a little bit of a damper on our trip.
Oh, brother, that looks like a scratch to me.
Have we ever heard about such creatures in these passes, or?
No, you actually have not. This is the first time you're actually coming across this creature like this.
And Ganji moves towards the creature to investigate it further. Being an outdoorsman and huntsman, he looks over the creature, kneels down beside it, inspects its blood, runs his hand over the fur, looks into the mouth of the beast, inspecting its fangs to try to surmise or deduce some sort of reason or...
So as you when you take a closer look, you instinctively make the connection that this is some sort of a lone hunter. It's vicious. Everything about it is set up to be an alpha predator, but clearly something that cannot work in a group or a pack. Even the way it attacked you, appeared out of nowhere, even when you both stopped and did not approach what could have been its territory in your mind, did not deter it from attacking you. You notice that the tail has what looks like a stinger, and while it did miss you, you feel that you touch the stinger, you see a little bit of poison come out, and you kind of rub it in your fingers, and you realize that you're kind of shocked at the same time. You feel that it's not having any effect on you. and you're not quite sure if it's because you now have new powers or uh, it's just that this is not venom that would kill humanoid. You're not quite sure.
Are you
Would you-
done over there, brother? It seems like you found a new woman.
No, not a new woman. I prefer mine slightly less hairy, if only very slightly so.
Hmm.
And Genji rises up, takes his fingers, rubs them together, holds them up to the sun, smells the venom, and turns to his brother. I have never seen such a thing, either over field, in stream, or through the deep, dark forests. This scene, if I had to guess, it was sent here to track us. We
It
were
could-
lucky to be unscathed.
It could be, brother, but did you not hear those people that we have passed earlier? There is something odd going on at the village. Perhaps it is for us, perhaps not. Regardless, it did not seem like it was much difficulty for us.
It was not. If you remember the tale of Het Lava, he climbed too high upon that mountain and came too close to the sun. Great he was as a hero, but his hubris did him in the end. He smiles. At least I listened to that tale, brother. It's a tale I don't wish to recreate.
Hubris me? I must have missed that one.
Only in the bedchamber, I hear.
Hubris means it's not true, is that right?
He laughs. Come now. We should continue towards the village. If they are in danger, well, perhaps we could put our gifts to good use. At any rate, and he takes a deep breath, I do not sense that these mountains or these paths are sorrowful at this creature's demise.
Certainly not. Well, brother, perhaps it is wise for us to get to this village quickly, in case they need our help, and there are women to be saved. And men too, I guess.
Indeed, indeed. Well, we can travel quickly. Follow me, I know the way. And he starts up double time up the path. Last of Mohican style.
Shamad watches Ganji kind of run off, and he's like, and he just kind of like takes off after him after a big sigh, kind of like upset that he has to run after.
You don't get tired either.
Yeah, but he just, I have to follow this big ass guy, running so fast.
And you guys double time it, getting as fast as possible to the village of Gong Fang. And just as the sun is setting in the west, you come upon the village as you're cresting down a hill. In the distance, you can see what looks like a village, roughly maybe 1,000 people could be living there. There's a river that flows through it. A lot of rice paddy fields. A large mountain range towards the east, and when you both look up high in the mountain, there is a sense of foreboding within you. Something doesn't sit right within you when you look up at a particular spot in the mountain. You can't really place the exact spot, but in the general vicinity of this place where I'm pinging, you feel something is not really right.
Can you ping that again for me, Simon?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a big map. There you go. Okay.
Gotcha. Cool.
And lamps are lit, leading the way down to the village. and you can see that there's a main part of the village. There are also like small like settlements just outside and around the main body of the village. There is a fortified wall along the village. From what you can see from here, Shamad, it's made of quarried stone, so pretty strong and sturdy. And you guys proceed down um, this path, get to the gates of the village just in time as they're about to close. And the guards let you in. They give you a strange look, but they let you in nonetheless. And with that, you have reached the village of Gong Fang. You look around, a few people, some questions, and while it's little hard to understand, they have a slightly different dialect, but you're able to make some sense of it. You're able to find what looks like a traveler's rest, and you're able to get some bedding for the night with some few remaining coins that you have in your pockets. Not enough to buy you food just yet, but enough to at least get a roof over your head and some soft hay.
I would say that Shamad has just enough to get them food and lodging. Does he not?
You see. So you think of luck?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Just enough.
Ah, I see. Yes, with luck. Yes, so you are able to get some meager. I didn't see the luck part. Yep, just enough to get you a few quick bites. Enough to keep you satiated for the night, but not enough to. The next morning, you're going to be waking up hungry. And with that, our demigods have reached the village of Gong Fang. Any closing RP as you guys bed for the night?
As Ganji's turning out, he kind of like, he has these, not a tunic on, but loose pants. Turns his pockets inside out and says, "As again, you've come through. I rather enjoy this new gift you have."
It won't make us kings, that is for certain, but I won't go to bed hungry. I might wake up hungry, but when you have an appetite like you, Ganji, I don't think any man's luck could keep up with that stomach of yours. And he kind of like pushes the hay, arranging it in the perfect pattern for him to lay on, and he does, and he's like, quite comfortable. How about yours?
He kind of settles in and expects it to be as comfortable as Shamad's, but there's a wooden beam in the small of his back, and there's a halfway hammered in nail that keeps digging into his right shoulder. And he just lies and says, very comfortable.
And Shamad just kind of realizes from the many years and kind of looks up at the ceiling. I suppose you can sleep in my bed like we did when we were children, looking at the stars and our father's gardens. You remember, as I said, from there to there to there, and anywhere. I don't know where our feet will take us, brother, but something is amiss, and we've only begun to find out just what. And Shamad looks over at Ganji and he's like, no wonder you can't get a woman. Too quick to bed. And he kind of just sits there staring at the ceiling for a while until finally he plugs his ears with hay and falls asleep.
And with that, the screen fades to black, and travelers are on their next adventure.
Oh,